Recording in progress.
Good morning. Hope everyone's having a great start to your week. This is our You can say open house for Scaling for Life, where we're giving you guys free value. Anybody, wherever you're at around the world, we're giving you guys an insight on what one of our days would look like in one of our classes. And we do this Monday through Friday, and we do it on purpose. The definite end is to help people. The definite end is help people grow, to achieve, to really draw out whatever's from within, whatever desires that you truly have, whatever wants that you truly have, and help you successfully achieve those things. We do that through these classes, and it's by teaching people a little bit more about themselves. And it's by knowing more about you that you can get unstuck. When you don't know that it's you that has positioned you exactly where you're at today, when you don't know how to change you, then you really don't know how to get past you. And really, the only thing that's standing between you and your desires, you and your goals, is you. Most of us don't know that subconsciously there is something subconsciously that is holding us back, that is stopping us at every moment to go beyond what we know how to do. There's a psychology behind this belief and behavior, and we go into that psychology. We go into the psyche, which is psyche means mind. All that a man is mind, right? So if the mind is what we are, the mind is a movement, then the mind is what you need to understand. Otherwise, you keep thinking that there's something outside of yourself when it's really inside. And for the individuals that think it's something outside of themselves that's controlling their behavior, that's created the results and the circumstances, take a good look in the mirror. There's nothing outside of us. Everything is it's mental work. The mental work took you to where you're at today, and the mental work can take you beyond. But it's only by working on your mentality, working on your mindset, that alters the plan. All month we're talking about the subconscious mind, which also reminds me we should be having our event this Thursday. Go to our website, take a look at the date and time on our event, our in-person event, and we have a workshop class where we go through each law of success once a month. So we'll have one this month. We're coming to the Thursday, and we'll be having one next month. And there's only one way, and it's to get involved. Get involved in working on you. The results will never change. This month we're going over the subconscious, and we're talking about everything that the subconscious is. When we look at life, we begin to understand the source of all wealth. Or we don't, sometimes we don't, but we begin to see that the source of all wealth is it's a law that's rarely found, but normally subservient to. It's a law that's rarely mastered, but normally served by so many people, when it could be the total opposite. And really, just by changing that mindset inside of you, that I am the master and money is a servant, just changing that rule and how you're going to acquire, how you will earn money, and how you will give services to earn that money, changes everything about what money means. A lot of us have this mindset on money, and it's the mindset on money that has it all backwards for you. When we start to look at money, where does it come from? Where do all the automobiles, the diamonds, the houses, the skyscrapers, the farms, the cattle, where does all this come from? The horses, the land, everything that's material. Where does it all come from? Well, it comes from one source, one substance. It comes from one primordial substance out of which all things are created. Now, you may start to wonder, well, what does that mean? And how is that right? Everything that we have around, it's fixed objects. But the fixed objects comes from one substance. And when we start to look at energy, everything's made of the same substance. Take away everything that was man-made, and you have nature. Take away man's imagination, Take away man's ability to imagine with his will. Think about that. Take away man's ability. If we were to stop today, man's ability to imagine and use his will, everything would begin to disappear. Why would everything begin to disappear? Because his ability to create would be stopped. That means everything from here forward, and if there was a hindrance on that, and there was no ability to imagine and hold an idea with your will, we wouldn't have any forward growth from now forward. Everything would begin to disintegrate. Why would everything begin to disintegrate? Because everything that's been brought into the world immediately begins to decompose, because it's in nature now. And that means that man's ability to think is what's taking him beyond nature. And when we look at everything that's been made by nature, it's got to go back to nature. Interesting. So it goes back to the same source. And even nature itself goes back to the same source. Our thoughts, our words, our bodies, our food, our clothes, everything that appears are created from this substance. It permeates everything, penetrates everything, and fills everything. It is a raw material of all forms. We think into it, and it gives back to us results of our thinking. Interesting. We think into it, and it gives us back results of our own thinking. It is the invisible source of all supply. It responds to our word. We contact it through the spiritual medium of our thoughts. It is omnipresent, eternal intelligence, and encompassing. It thinks through our brains, materializes through our words, breathes through our lungs, feels through our emotions, and speaks through our nerves, and repairs the worn-out tissues in our bodies. This substance we live and move and have being. We have our being in it. All things were made of it, by it, from it, out of it. Substance. And without substance was not anything made. It was made. Interesting. We could take a dollar bill and we could burn it right now, and it'll go back to nothing. Going back to substance. Now, it didn't die, it just changed form. It went back to where it came from. It's energy. Energy transforming from one state to the next. And we look at substance, it's ever present, ready for us to think into it. Not only that, it's also pregnant with intelligent information, intelligent ideas. Waiting for what? Direction. And yet, how many people around the world say, it's because of him, it's because of her. I couldn't do it because. And yet, we find so many people that are able to pluck ideas from the same no space, no time, and bring that fruit into the world. You hear one man talking about it can't be done, and somebody else proved him wrong. But yet he didn't prove him wrong. He only proved himself right. And proved that the other person was unable to accomplish such a feat within himself. We live in a thought-evolved world, but it's individualized. The man that said it couldn't was right. It couldn't happen for him. When we start to understand the way reality really works, we start to understand that we live in a thought-evolved world in which only the observer can engage. Only an observer can engage. If a man cannot think or imagine, he cannot participate. The man that decides not to imagine very far or think very big participates less in this thing we called life. Not because he couldn't, but he never chose. This substance that thinks, when it engages vibration, it carries radio programs right into our homes. We do not have to take off the roof or put the windows up to let the radio programs in. They go right through cement, bricks, plaster, lumber, and steel without disturbing the structure in any way. Thus, we see the meaning of omnipresence. There is nothing in the material world that is solid, impregnable, impenetrable. Substance is all over all, through all, and under all. Substance will go through tons of solid rock or concrete just as easily as it will go through our bodies. We do not see, taste, feel, and smell or hear substance, but we know it by what it does. When it engages man's thoughts, it materializes the things imaged in thought. It acts by the means of belief and conviction. A prayer goes into the intangible substance and causes a vibration that changes the material conditions in a man's life. Now you may be thinking, well, how come it works for some and not others? Oh, it works for everyone. It's been working for you. Everything that you've mustered today, everything that you brought today was according to your beliefs, your way of thinking. Why is it important to understand this? Well, if you want to understand you got to understand what you are. If you want to understand life, you got to understand what life is. What is life? Life is everything that thinks. Trying to get this video going here, but it'll come up. So we're going through life operating on frequencies. We're going through life picking up ideas. We talked about this earlier. You don't have to take off the roof to let radio programs in. They penetrate all space, time, and form. You can think and imagine for ideas anywhere you're at, whatever part of the planet you're at, and you receive them. We take this phone, and we use this medium to contact, to send information into the ether. We ask and we receive ideas on how to go there, how to do that, because everything operates on frequencies. And you've got one in the center of your own being, but you rarely use it because you don't believe. I had an idea that I would have multiple companies. And I started to activate my desire and want. I started to get light images back to me. Now, am I better than anyone else? No, we all work the same. I started to get light images back to me on how to go about putting it together. Why? Why would I get this? What was the difference between me and others? I was willing to act on them. What was the difference between me and others? I was willing to act on the ideas that were being presented to me by the unseen world. This is not out of the wild stuff. How many times do you sit for ideas and you get them, but you never act? How many times do you search for direction, and when you get it, you do nothing about it? Universal intelligence works for all men. Very few men think they're worthy of it. That's the truth. Some of you have tried. And the few that have tried maybe had a folly and you gave up. I'm here to tell you, the only folly was in going into the negative vibration. That was the folly. Keep your mind straight. Go back and do it again. You see, the mind is a movement and the body is a manifestation. And if we let negative ideas interrupt the creative process, if you let your negative ideas take over the creative process that was bringing you ideas on how it could be done, look to your thoughts. Look to your own consciousness and get things right there. You see, we are a thought-evolved being. And whatever you're thinking about, you're bringing about. See how that's nonsense? Look at yourself 5 years ago. Were you not in perfect relation to your own beliefs, your own thoughts? Were you not doing exactly what you were thinking about? Did you not find the job that you were looking for? Did you not go into the practice that you were wanting or not wanting? Something led you to a chain of events that led you to the chain of events that led you to the chain of events to put you exactly where you're at 5 years ago. What about 10? Look at the people that you surrounded yourself with 5 years ago. Now let's jump back 10 years. Were they not in perfect proportion to the way you were thinking? Like attracts like. The boyfriend, the girlfriend, the situations, the job, the amount of money you earned. Was it not all in relation to you? You see, when we're talking about the subconscious mind, we're talking about so much. The subconscious is in everything. It's omnipresent. There is nothing in the material world that is solid. Nothing. Nothing. This is the beautiful part about it. Because that means it's tangible. It's pliable. I went from living in a solid world, you could say trading my time for peanuts at the time, to changing that reality just by believing in me. The world shifted when I shifted. When I decided I was worthy, when I decided to work on a vision, everything started to change. And every time that I was growing, I was changing me. Every time that I was moving into a new self-image, I was building my self-image, I was moving into a different position in the companies. It was me that was changing. And if I wouldn't have been changing, my outside world would have stayed much the same. So visit yourself. How many times has your outside world changed for you? If it hasn't, it's because your inside world has not changed. You've got to believe that you're worthy. And then you've got to bet on yourself. Now, we have people that have bet on themselves. People that have bet on themselves and have invested in themselves and have done the work are the ones that are winning. Not the ones that think they've got it and do nothing with it, but the ones that listen and understand. Understand means to do it. You'll never understand a thing till you do it. And if you won't get out of your own way to do it, you'll never understand it. You'll never see it for yourself. What are we talking about here? Perhaps we should make a distinction here between substance and matter. There is a difference, and to confuse them is to shut off your own supply. When we look at substance, we're talking about the essence of all things, that which stands under or behind things, that which gives them being, reality, and support, that which we stand under, that which we stand under. When you really begin to understand that you are standing under your own beliefs, you begin to see life in a different way. I had an idea and a vision. I acted it out, and it came to pass. I was standing under my new vision. I was thinking of prosperity, and I decided the amount of money I was earning was no longer enough for me. I was standing under my beliefs. I changed my beliefs. I said, no, this is no longer what we do. We are standing under reality. Understand, as above, so below. It's unseen. The higher side of me you'll never see. Very rare people can see the higher side of a personality. It's unseen. The soul, the spirit, the thing that thinks between these arms and hands, between a man's hat and boots is unseen. But you see the results. Now, as we contemplate life, we think life has proven dominion over us. I'll go back to the young man that was swinging a hammer. He was looking at the circumstances, blaming the circumstances. He no longer wanted to swing the hammer. He no longer wanted to work on tires. And many times we get this backwards. We think that life has turned to us, that life has condemned us, or life has us positioned in a place that we don't want to be. But yet, we misunderstand that we mispositioned ourselves. And we're just experiencing that. We mispositioned ourselves. So how do we change the positioning of ourselves? Well, through a mental mindset. I decided I was worthy of so much more. Again, I began to believe that I was worthy of so much more. That's what changed. When we look at circumstances in life, everything has a mechanism. From the body to the home, to the workplace, to the city, everything has a mechanism. We live and operate in mechanisms, beliefs. Now, when I found myself stuck, I was working in a mechanism. I was working in a company. Now, I was truly never stuck. I went there because at the moment, that's what I desired. That's what I was looking for. And I got to the point where I no longer wanted that. And because I no longer wanted that, I was stuck because I was stuck already inside of a mechanism, trading my time for money. Now, we built companies. And we began to build things in a different way. I understood that money is a mechanism, and it should be used as a mechanism, just as a tool for services rendered, for people to evolve in. Now, we operate our mechanism, our tools, we have several companies, as mechanisms to help people evolve, to grow in consciousness. If or when they are ready to change. Now, there came a point in time when I was ready to grow, to go beyond. Now, the company I was in didn't think in this manner. To some degree, yes, it let me grow and evolve within the constraints of that mechanism, but I could no longer go any further to earn more money. Why? Because the way the mechanism was made, it could only pay out so much money for the company. Now, as a man of creation and understanding, I know that every man or woman will get to the point where their spiritual essence wants more. Now, we've built our companies to help that person evolve through those opportunities that we all have by birthright inside of us. By birthright, every individual will get to the point where they're no longer satisfied doing what they're doing. They have gone to the ladder of their beliefs, and they're ready for more. A lot of people don't understand what's happening. But what's happening is that inside of you, inside of me, inside of every man or child, when we get to the point of dissatisfaction, it's because the essential part of us is telling us it's time to grow. Now, we should help people through this transition. If you try to conform an individual, he'll end up leaving. Or they suppress that energy. They no longer feel happy. They're in a place they no longer want to be. They're doing these things they don't want to do. And they're ready for a change. But majority of people don't know why we do these things. Change means your spiritual essence is wanting to expand. It's ready for growth. It's tired of doing and being and experiencing what you've been doing to it. And who does that? Our own subconscious. Our beliefs are doing that to us. Now, in business, we should understand that business is a development of people. And if business is the development of people, we should be asking our people, what do they want? What do they want to experience? What would they like to do to experience that? Are they willing to grow? Are they willing to become who they need to become to achieve what they really desire? And what are they willing to give for it? Now, we're doing things differently. And we're doing that on purpose. Because business was never meant to control man. It was meant to provide service for man. Now, that being said, the business I was in didn't allow for a higher growth. I was ready to grow, but I had a large vision. I knew I was meant for so much more, but I was expressing so little. So I started to look. Started to imagine a grander, better, fuller life. Now, at that time, I started to look around at what they were doing and what others were doing. Now, why would I do that? Well, by nature, we always look around to see what they are doing, what others are doing, so that we can reason with ourselves and see what it's possible for us to go and do. I started to look around and look at other people's consciousness and the way they were expressing it, how they were trading their time for money. Interesting. I started to look around to see how they were trading their time for money. And I began to notice that there was something very peculiar about it. I started to see that people were consciously deciding to do things, to consciously trade their time for money. Then I saw another group that was creating services for money. And I started to wonder, my God, that's a really odd thing. I look amongst so many, and so many have this attitude to trade their time by the hour. So odd. And then if they get a little further in life, maybe they trade their time for a salary, a fixed salary. And then I would notice the different lifestyles, and I would notice that the different mindsets, eventually they would conform and they would stay. They wouldn't go any further. And I started to look around and said, my God, what's this? This is a system. It's a model. The majority of the people are stuck in it. I was stuck in it, and I was doing the same thing. I said, there's got to be more. And I started to look around more, and I started to view that there was very few people that were thinking about creating value for others. There were very few people that were thinking about how to create a system that would work for them, to generate income, to give services, to trade other people's time for services, or other people's products for money. I started to notice that money was moving everything. Everything. I started to notice that money moved the world. That money moved the world. And without money, there was no world, because you had to pay for the world. I started to notice that everything that was man-made, you had to pay for it. Everything that was nature was for free. Then I started to look around. I said, well, I don't want to go to nature because I would have to create everything by hand that has taken man hundreds and thousands of years to develop to this point today. I could go live for free in the natural world, but I don't get the benefits of what man has used by creative imagination. Now, if I want to live in the physical world that's man-made, but there is a higher consciousness, don't get me wrong, that works through man. If I want to live in that world, the only way to access is to pay for it. You have to earn it. And I started to look around. Well, let's look at the way all these different people earn. Why is it that some earn so much and the majority only get enough? Isn't that peculiar? That very few will earn an abundance. Very few get to the point to where they have an abundance of riches. And there's a majority, they stay stuck. What was holding them back? And I started to notice it wasn't something physical. It was something psychological. I started to notice that there was also different brackets of being stuck. The higher you went up, the less people were at the top. And they were free. Started to wonder, well, there's got to be something about the way they think. And I started to look around at the different groups. The people that earned 20, 30,000 all lived more or less in the same parts of town. Isn't that interesting? They all kind of congregate together. They all think the same. They all walk the same. They all have more or less the same job functions. They trade their time by the hour. They have labor jobs. They're used to using their hands, trade their time for money. And I started to wonder, this thought-evolved world that we live in is measurable. I can go look at how many people trade their time by the hour with their hands, and they all earn more or less the same. They all think the same. They all feel comfortable together too. Very interesting. They even put them in city centers. They separate the different city centers according to the way they trade. Interesting. And what controls the city centers? It was money. Money controlled the city centers according to how much they earned. But then the amount of money you earn was controlled by how much you believe. I said, my God, this is so interesting. I didn't believe that I was able to, as a young man, able to earn $100,000 at that time. Not because I couldn't. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the understanding at that time. Nor did I go look for it. Now, why would I go look for it? Then I think back, why didn't I, as a young man, have the desire or the want to earn $1 million a year? Why didn't I have the desire to earn $1 million a month? Why didn't I have the desire to earn $1 million a week at that time? Well, that all went back to the way I was thinking. And the way I was thinking was developed from childhood. Well, the only thing I could think from was from the environment I was born from. Then I started to look at all this environment as I grew up, and I started to think back of the way I was raised, and I noticed the same peculiar, odd thing. That more or less all the people that thought the same all congregated together. They all thought the same. They all earned more or less the same. Accident? So now I've got this idea as a child of all these pods of people congregating and thinking the same, earning the same. We'd go visit people. We'd go visit more or less the same lifestyles, more or less the same homes. Accident? Surely not. Same beliefs, same expressions, maybe a little more, not too much more. I started to see that there's a psychological process in the human, and that's what leads him to his experience. There's a psychological movement in the individual, and that leads them towards his experience. Now, why is it so important? What's your whole life? It was mine, and it still is, and it's still yours. Wherever you're at, whatever part of the world you're at today, there's a psychological process going inside of your mind, and it's not yours. You're thinking the way you were programmed. It's a weird thing that children grow up, and they do, as their families did, but that's the only thing they could do. They had to act, walk, talk, and think as they did. Why? Because they learned from them. Now, I started looking around. I said, my God, I don't want what they have. And I started to look around and ask for questions and look for ideas, and they could only tell me what they knew and what they knew how to do to get where they're at. I said, well, if I want more, I must be talking to the wrong group. And it struck me. Everything's just ideas. Everything's just ideas. Well, if I go to another group and I start to think as they think, would I get what they have? Interesting. Started to work on me and say, I no longer want what they have. All this time, we're talking about mind movement. Nothing was controlling me. Let's look at the power of the subconscious mind. The power of the subconscious mind has everything inside of it to give you what you want. What are we doing with our abilities? I had to change my beliefs. I used that same subconscious mind to power up. When I decided I wanted to go there and there's a place, I started to get light images on how to go there. The only difference is I didn't shut them off. Majority of people will shut off the good they desire because they don't believe. I kept looking up and looking for more. And I started to look towards the self-image that would deliver that product. I had to look towards, one, management or foreman, leadership roles, then management roles. When I got to the management roles, then I started to look to ownership. So every time I'm looking at these different self-images that are express their behaviors in different ways to earn different money, I was learning. What was I learning? That the self-image decides how much money that individual earns. And the amount of money they earn dictates how they live. I said, wow. So if I go pick the right self-image that earns the amount of money that I want and become that, and that means I could earn that? Yes, it does. So I said, what self-image is a self-image that's in the 1 to 3% then? And I started to look up that ladder of success of people who got shorter, and there was a smaller windows of self-images. They all kind of gathered together into a self-image. So what is that self-image? What is that person that earns? How is it that they think? That self-image had one thing in common. They were all value creators. They valued creation. They valued creating businesses for other people. Their value, that means, let's say their desire, their want, was to serve. I said, my God, this is backwards. The people that are earning the most money in the world are the ones that serve the most people. Their desire is not on taking money. It's in giving services. I said, wow. The value creators are people that are bringing value to the world. And the more value that they can bring to the world, the more they're compensated. So their desire is to help people. Their desire is to help people with jobs, with opportunities. The more you grow in consciousness, the more you understand the laws, and you start to operate with them. Value creators, the ones that move the world. Value production are the ones that work the world. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with value production if that is what you truly desire to do on purpose, by choice. There's a big difference. You know how many people are going through society and their automatic is value production? Without even truly choosing, understanding the way money works. They value the production rather than valuing creation. So they go trade their time by the hour. They trade their experience in life by salary. And their value is in the production side of things. There's nothing wrong with that if you understood the mechanism. If you really decided that's all I want to earn for the rest of my life, on purpose. That's a lot of you might be saying right now, who in the hell would decide that? Look around. Look around. Do you really think that everybody really decided this is the self-image? And this is truly all I desire. I don't want to go any further. That's enough for me. I don't think anybody ever really chose that. I think we conformed. I don't think I know we have. I go around asking everybody, is that all you ever wanted to earn? No? Why are you only earning that? Sometimes they say, I don't know. Some of them don't want to face, that's all I believe I could do. That's all I believed that I could do. People don't earn $50,000 a year because they want to. They earn $50,000 a year because they don't know how to earn that in a month or in a week. But we can show them how. First thing is you got to believe that it's possible. There are people that live in society that earn $50,000 a month. The only thing is you just don't know how. And that's what's holding you back. And you may be starting to think right now, well, why didn't I even think about that? Why didn't I think about earning $50,000 a month? Because you didn't believe it was possible for you. It didn't even hit your imagination. That's when I started to understand that there was a strange thing. Why didn't I start off at 18, 19 years old thinking about earning $100,000 a year, $100,000 a month? There is no big or small, they're just ideas. But why was I not even open to thinking about that? $30,000 a day, $50,000 a day, $100,000 a day. Why was I not even open to fantasizing what that would look like? At the time, I wasn't open to receiving that because my beliefs didn't support to think in that way. So when we start to look at what consciousness is beliefs that are thinking. What is my imagination? Who is my imagination? It can only be the genetic makeup of the environment we grew up in. That's all it could be. That's all it could be. And if we're never awakened to more or see more, majority of the time, we stay thinking like that. And we make decisions. We make life decisions from those ideas. This month, we're talking about the subconscious mind. We're getting everybody to really, really think. To think about why you're at where you're at. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. This has happened to everyone all over the world. We do, as children, the only thing that we could do. To think, to act, to walk, to talk, and to behave as that culture, that environment, that geography, that city zip code, as they did. That's all we could do. We did just like everyone else, just like our parents did, and their parents' parents, and their parents' parents, and their parents' parents. We did what we could because that's all we could do, was to learn from our environment. But this is the truth. If the day comes that if you ever want to go beyond what you are, there's only one way. And that is to imagine beyond where you are. There's only one way. And then have the courage and the belief to walk into the unknown. To go develop yourself and let go all the things that you learned from before. And be ready and willing to unlearn and relearn. That's what gave me the life I'm having today. Was the ability to have faith and belief in myself. And the willingness and the courage to unlearn and relearn. To imagine. Have faith and belief. And the willingness to step into the unknown and be uncomfortable. So that I may have more than what I was. Take a look at what we're doing. Make a committed decision. If you really want to grow, if you want really, truly desire, if you really feel worthy of having more, attaining more, becoming more, make a committed decision. Get involved with our classes. We have people all over the world that are taking this idea and growing. We have people all over the world that were in impoverished situations and created a fortune. Accident? No. On purpose. Because they believed in themselves. Make a committed decision. Act now. Otherwise, you'll hear this and you'll do what the subconscious is supposed to do. Turn around and go and do what it was supposed to do today. And if you do that every day, you're stuck. Think about it. Make a committed decision. Change is a decision that only you can make. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for coming to our class. I hope this serves you.